highest overvalue in history. I mean, I actually posted a short on our YouTube and it's been one of the most best performing ones. And it basically just highlighted we're at the highest level in terms of P ratios, like actual values that value investors look for in stocks. Warren Buffett's selling, and it's the highest in history from what I can see. It's higher than 1929 slightly, which is pretty. If you're a value investor, why would you want to invest at these, like Nvidia, Palantir, like 60 times price to earnings ratio is just unheard of. I mean,
No, think of it like
30.
think of it like a rubber band, and it's getting stretched. And what happens when you stretch a rubber band too much? Eventually, it snaps and comes back, and that's exactly what happens in the markets, and that's exactly what will happen this time. Now, we can't say for sure how much you can stretch that band. Could it continue to stretch more and more for another year, another 2 years, another 3 years? Of course, it could. We don't know the exact time that the market is going to turn around, but one thing is certain: it will snap at one time, and all the signals, all the indicators, technical and otherwise, are saying that it's going to snap sometime soon. So it's not a good time to be heavily in the market. You should at least preserve some cash, be in other things like gold and other things that we've spoken about on this channel, other commodity type items. A much safer bet than being in stocks at this stage in the game.
Yeah, and we've had just a massive blow off top from the 2022 high. It's just been grinding aggressively higher. Yes, we're at the 200 moving average, but I don't have as much faith in it because of all of these things. We've only fallen because as we've been squeezing higher, that level's only 5% lower from the highs. It's like this is not a proper correction, but at the same time, people are going to respect those levels. So we've got to bear in mind if we do have, if we are betting against the market, which I have, that might end up closing most of my position because it is at this level.
But if you look at some of the stocks that we've spoken about and we've ridiculed, for example, the Trump media stock and where that is now, since we spoke about it, that it's not being, it's certainly not performed the way that people expected it to after Trump won the presidency. And the same with Tesla. Tesla was shot up after the election and has been falling back more recently.
Tesla's actually bang on its 200 moving average, and it actually looks like if you like Tesla, it looks like a good buy if we break this 9-period moving average. Spot on about a number of things we talked about. Bang on the money. So so we were slightly late to the Google party video as well, and we wanted to do that a day or so earlier, but even so, since we did the video, Google's fallen another 15% since then.
If you're using options to trade that, even when our video came out, you'd have made a lot of money on it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the bigger picture on Google is very important. I think we're seeing the beginning of the end of Google as the king of the internet, as it were. It's got a long way to go before it crashes and burns completely. But we're at the beginning of the end because there are much better options out there for search. Perplexity, I don't know if you use Perplexity, but Perplexity is much better for search than Google.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
And Grok, the
AI stuff is actually really good. Like you spend so much time trying to find what you want, and you just use one of these AI tools. Even OpenAI is still pretty good as well.
Yeah,
answers.
I use Perplexity for search all the time now, and I've started using Grok for search, and they're much better than Google. All you get from Google nowadays, as far as I can see, is a load of crap AI generated content. It's I think we're definitely seeing the beginning of the end, and I think should you take a big position against Google right now? I don't know, but I think it's one to watch on the short side, and I would say we're at the beginning of the end. We can come back and revisit this one, and this time next year and see where Google is. But
well, you made a good point in the last video about spin-offs, like YouTube. Great, we're on YouTube, great platform. That is. I can't see anything coming in, but why not just have a YouTube spin-off that's just YouTube and YouTube's listed, like you said, like it doesn't have to be all the other stuff that Google have. And
like all of these big companies, there are some great things in them, but because the problem when you get these huge conglomerates is it's very difficult to manage all these diverse businesses. So it's much better to have, for example, YouTube, as you said, as a separate business. If you look at what Microsoft did recently by closing Skype, now Microsoft paid billions and billions of dollars to buy Skype 15, 20 years ago, and now they just closed it down completely. Now, I don't know why they closed it down. Why didn't they sell it?
I saw that as well. Yeah.
Sell it to some entrepreneurs that can actually make something of it and take it back to the market, because that company in itself must have billions in revenue. Presumably, it's losing money, and that's why they're closing it down. But it seems like a strange decision, but it just shows how these huge conglomerates, they cannot manage entrepreneurial type businesses within these big conglomerates. They're too
Mm.
have done with all the crazy regulations that these big companies have, and they can't operate in an entrepreneurial manner. And that's what happens when these companies get too big.
Mm.
So I think, of course, Google and Microsoft have got great businesses in them, but they have a lot
Mm.
of businesses that underperform, and it's very easy for people to hide
Mm.
and not perform in these big
Yeah.
companies. Particularly with all the working from home phenomenon of the last few years, where people
Mm.
can basically stay at home and pretend that they're working.
Yeah, yeah. And just to add to that is, I mean, we don't need to go into the financials of all these before. We've done that in a video here, I'll link, but we just exposed the financials massively on DJT, Donald Trump stock. We did it for Google, and then what was the other one? Tesla as well.
But the point is that there are some great opportunities in the market, whether it's on the long side or the short side. And we have been, we've spoken a lot about the overvaluation of the markets because that's where it is. The market is overvalued.
Mm.
We'll continue to speak about that and continue to point out the stocks that are overvalued. And these are great opportunities for either buying put options or shorting the stock directly,
Yeah.
or as you've been doing yourself, trading on the VIX and making money on volatility.
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually not too hard to track this stuff. I mean, people like there's no point going too much into detail. I have to look at more of the financials, but I've not really been a fan of like Palantir and Nvidia, but it's just laughable. All the hype, and now they're down like 40% from where they were, and they're probably still overvalued on the financials. I'll have to look at them, but
Well, look at
yeah.
MicroStrategy. That's the perfect example of this. Everybody was into MicroStrategy for
Mm.
a play on Bitcoin, and it's down. I think last time I looked at it, it's not what I follow on a daily basis, but last time I looked, it was down 50% from the highs.
Yeah.
And where would Bitcoin be if MicroStrategy hadn't been buying billions of dollars of Bitcoin?
Mm.
To me, it seems like an almost insane strategy that can only crash and burn eventually. But no, let's watch it and see.
Interestingly, though, on MicroStrategy, the technicals there, I mean, it's come down in 20 September 24 and August when we had the crash in the main market, tapped the 200 to an absolute T,
Mhm.
and then risen massively. It rose. Obviously, it's I think what they're doing is basically a massive bubble with the buying back of Bitcoin.
They're
Yeah,
borrowing money to buy Bitcoin, which of course
yeah,
is fine as long as Bitcoin keeps going up. And it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy because they're buying so much Bitcoin that they're almost controlling the market.
mm, mm,
They're cornering the market like the Hunt brothers tried to do with silver. But these market corners almost inevitably fail eventually. But yes, MicroStrategy's strategy will work
mm,
as long as Bitcoin goes up, but it'll work in reverse if Bitcoin
exactly.
falls down. And yeah, it's not inconceivable that Bitcoin, whatever it's going to go in the future, it's not inconceivable that it has a 56% drawdown again. And what happens to MicroStrategy in that period, it won't be good because it's so leveraged.
Yeah. But I think what we're really highlighting here is these aren't value. Well, we're not talking about a separate use case, but for something like MicroStrategy, Palantir, these massive things that are hugely overvalued. I think even people investing in them know these are swing trades. They know they're not long-term investment because even with the MicroStrategy there, like I totally agree with you. It's gonna have some trouble at some point. But you can see how, from the technical standpoint, there you could easily be buying the technicals there, really tight stop, and be making huge money.
Of course. I mean,
Portfolio.
because of the liquidity in these stocks, you can day trade MicroStrategy, you can day trade Nvidia, you can just bounce around trading the technicals. You can make a lot of money. People are doing that, and
Yeah,
you could actually focus on trading just one stock and get to know it really really well,
yeah.
and you could make a living only trading
Mm.
MicroStrategy or only trading Nvidia, and I'm sure people do that.
Yeah, Palmy
It's
wants to share screen with you now. I can do it quickly. I don't know if you can see this, but just look at the MicroStrategy chart. Like it's the way
yeah,
it's
no,
gone to 200. It's like because they're controlling the supply and kind of trying to call the market, they're going to be able to control how their stock moves. And the only thing that they can go off that they can tell like their buddies or other institutions is follow the moving averages. Look, bang bang, huge move.
but
Bang, we've had a
the,
huge move already from there.
the, there's also probably a fair bit of automated trading around the 200 day moving average as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Like
What happened here when it got to
there'll be buy
13?
programs as soon as a stock like that hits a 200-day moving average. There'll be buy programs buying massive amounts of the stock, and obviously, if you know that, you can make money out of buying at the same time as the buy programs.
Yeah, yeah, and even with Tesla at the moment, it's at that level. But I wouldn't trust it. Some other things, obviously, here in a
But
couple
Tesla's down. What percentage is Tesla down since November?
41. So yeah, I would probably if we can get a break above this, the 9 period moving average there, you can see how we've fallen off of it twice there. If we can get, we were nearly there again, we fell down, but we're getting a couple of green days here. If we get crossing back over, and I'm
If
not
that,
saying that Tesla's a good long-term investment, but obviously there'd
but
be
you could
like
see a $50 point swing upwards if it
100%,
if
yeah.
it goes solidly back above that moving average again.
Breaks back above the 200, and then maybe a day trading above, or days trading above this 9 period moving average. I reckon from there, and then to trade that would be like, so you probably swing, you probably do options or something, and then have a really tight stop, because this, once again, this is something that has little. They're obviously they're doing well, but not in terms of the actual market cap of the company, which is the overriding point based on how many shares they have. That's what you. But yeah, that's and then even
But again, a lot of people made a lot of money only from trading Tesla stock and Tesla options. So it's definitely whether you're on the long side or the short side of it, you can make money both ways.
Yeah. Well, with Palantir, we had a gap fill, but this was just so no. Yeah, it's just I need to look at the financials, so I can't read it. But yeah, and then Nvidia, which we talked bad about Nvidia when we were doing, I think, the stock market crash video, which should have been in January, which was spot on really. I think we were saying it was starting to track sideways, and something, if it's gone, 15, if you're 15 extra investment or whatever, you're not gonna. Some people are gonna have to start taking profit at some point, and
Yes.
with everything else, it just takes a little bit more competition, and we're gonna have difficulties a while now. Had our bounce to
And
200 already,
yeah, I
and
mean,
then falling through
and
it.
they're talking. I mean, Nvidia has obviously profited from the AI boom, but they're bringing out the next model of this Chinese AI DeepSeek in the
Mm.
coming weeks, and it remains to be seen how good that is. But if that's proved that they can do things much more cheaply and be just as good as OpenAI or Anthropic or any of the other
Yeah.
AIs that are spending billions on these Nvidia chips, then that is not going to be good for Nvidia at all.
Yeah, and I think there's another, not a deep seek, but there was another Chinese. Is that what you were talking about? There was another Chinese.
DeepSeek are bringing out they brought out the version
Free version.
a couple of months ago, which was beating some of the ones like OpenAI that had spent billions, and then they say that they only spent $5 million on it, whether you choose to believe that or not. But
Yeah.
also Alibaba have won, and they just brought a new version of that in the last couple of days too. So,
It's funny you mention Alibaba, because I was on a Twitter space before we go on to that. Nvidia, let's just see where it could go if it was, if you were still trading the technical, see where the 200 is from there. I mean, that 200 weekly is miles away from there.
miles and miles away.
That
Look,
you can see that consolidation there. You can see the consolidation there where the 200 is. I would be saying that zone there. If you were good, if you were looking to buy Nvidia, I mean, here you can see actually it went down to the weekly there and bounced off of it. So, that's the sort
are
of
there any
level.
gaps to fill in that chart, Hector?
We've just with the you could see it more
I
clearly
can't
on the
see it very
daily.
clearly on that weekly chart, but there's inevitably there'll be some gaps to fill, and almost always
Mm.
these stocks will go back and fill the gaps.
There's a gap there at 30, which is a lot further down where because that's the consolidation zone. So
Yeah,
basically, it's from here to that gap fill there. If you really want to,
and,
if it was going
and
to fall,
how does that play in with the weekly moving average? That may
it's
tie
just below it. It was
quite
just
nicely.
see, because it was about 40, 50. That
It'd
was
be,
the
it'd
consolidation
be
there.
a
The gap
brave
fill's
call to say that it's gonna go back down to the moving average
We're
there,
being a
but
bit ballsy by saying that, I know, but
but
I mean, even with Palantir.
it could happen.
Yeah, exactly. But even with Palantir, it's having onto the daily. We've just had that gap fill. You can see how we're bouncing off it slightly here.
No,
Starting
it's
to
filled the
break
gap. It's filled the gap.
yeah, starting to break that
Yeah.
9 period moving average there. But just what you were saying, I mean, Alibaba, I was screaming this on this 200 period moving average here. We'd fallen. I know it's a shame we didn't do a video on it, but we'd think about it. We'd fallen 80%,
It's a
and
beautiful
and
pattern too. Beautiful pattern that has fallen.
yeah, and then it's tracked sideways for literally 2 years, and then
Yeah,
I looked at the financials, and I saw that basically the performance was better than it was in like 2021, which is where they were at the highs here in terms of the
yeah.
financials. Yes, the PE ratio is probably stupid like with these other blue, but the fact we've been beaten down 80%, tracked sideways for 2 years, and then we had a technical. As I was on the Twitter space, I hadn't even checked. I was doing the research on it live, and then I noticed we'd had a bit of a burst up and a breakout, and then fallen back down 20%. And I was saying, like, I
Yeah.
love the look of it on this 200 moving average, and it
It's
just
been
rose
it's been
so
rocking and rolling since
aggressively.
then.
I mean, that's 70% higher. It's still
Yeah,
going.
yeah. So a
But it
great
also
buy.
hugged that 200, hugged our moving average perfectly all the way up there. It broke it here. So I mean, here's probably where you take profit. You can see how it broke it there, and there would have been. But
Yeah, yeah. But
and
watch out for it getting back down towards the 200 moving average again.
Yeah. And then and the reason I ended up talking about it was because of Robinhood, which is another one that before we had the YouTube channel, I was talking about, had a massive drop, tracked sideways for years, and then a couple of bounces off this 200, bang, bang, and then now exploding. These are names that, like, it's going to be quite, people will want to save these companies just because they are, especially after they've been tracking sideways for that long, because they are just names in the space. I mean, the book I love talking to you about is the Zulu Principle by Jim Slater, and one of his
Yes.
criteria is if the company's got a big name, people will want to save it or transition it into another business model or whatever, because of the brand name. It's just something that people invest in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, for sure. A bit of brand recognition is important in investing
mm,
as well for
mm.
consumers. Yeah.
Yeah. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and join our Discord chat room linked in the description so you can see these plays and get in these opportunities when we do.
In the modern world, great leaders resolve their conflicts with words.
As for me, I like the stock.
Order filled.